நேயர்கள் இதுவரை கேட்டது மக்கள் கருத்துக்கள் அரங்கேறிய கருத்துக்களம் உங்கள் BIT பண்பலை 90.8. நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
VIT Radio 90.8.
VIT Radio 90.8. வெற்றிகள் பல தந்திடும், உங்கள் மனங்களை கவர்ந்திடும்,
பயனுள்ள தகவல்கள் தந்திடும்,
பகல் முழுதும் முற்ற தோழனாய் நிலைத்திடும்.
VIT Radio 90.8.
Exchange of ideas.
Life without oxygen. I believe that is the alien, suppose, and is adaptable to a temperature of minus 150 degrees centigrade. He would consider that temperature as suitable and optimal for life conditions.
Far, far away in another galaxy, there are life forms which have spawned in conditions of minus 150 to 200 degrees Celsius.
You know, Jupiter, gas planet, heavy gravity, and a hot boiling center. The organisms which would exist in Jupiter would try not to reach the center and get fried, right?
They don't recollect the events properly, so it's very possible that these are just things they cooked up, things which they mostly imagine.
One of the experiments conducted by SETI was radio experiments. So basically, humans used to detect various radio waves which could be used by alien species to communicate with each other or with us if they wanted to make contact with humans.
Exchange of ideas.
Hello listeners from VIT and beyond. This is VIT Community Radio 90.8 FM. This is Anshuman Mishra along with Milan Chennai signing in with an exchange of ideas. In this program, we'll have group discussions pertaining to certain scientific and philosophical topics, and we will satisfy all of your ruminations. So in the first segment, we're going to hypothesize about the existence of life in other parts of the cosmos. I have 3 people with me, and I would like for them to introduce themselves.
Hi everybody, my name is Rohit. I'm studying BTech EEE.
I'm Spurs Johari from BTech IT.
Hi, I'm Milan from BTech Chemical Engineering.
And I'm Anshuman from Computer Science and Engineering. So, I'd like to start with Rohit.
Thanks Anshuman. So when we think of extraterrestrial life forms or in general aliens, what does the common guy usually picture? Usually I've seen so many films, this is such a common concept, decades of films and fiction as such. We picture little green men with big heads and big buggy eyes wandering around our planet, abducting people and conducting bizarre experiments on them. But today we'll focus on the more serious aspects of what extraterrestrial life is actually about. Sparsh, what are your thoughts on this?
When I look out at night in the sky, I see tens of stars. But in reality, there are billions of galaxies with billions of stars. And it's my firm belief that there will exist at least one star that will support life system just like ours. They may have elongated faces, they may have 3 fingers or green color, but surely there is some life out there.
Obviously, as Sparsh pointed out, the probability of having at least one planet among billions and billions of stars and planets which have different atmospheric composition and living conditions, a million in one possibility that there will be at least one planet in which life can or will exist. So it is, we owe it to our self-respect to be rational and objective about discussion.
Exactly. I would like to extend Milan's point by apply a bit of probability theory to it. So if we look up at the night sky with a telescope, we'll see approximately 10 to the power 20 stars. And assuming that all of these stars have at least 1 in 1,000 of these stars have a proper solar system about themselves, we arrive at 10 to the power 17 stars with solar systems. So, and again, assuming that 1 out of 1,000 of these solar systems have conditions which can give rise to any form of life, we're left with 10 to the power 14 stars. So we are actually left with 10 to the power 14 solar systems in which life is possible. Any type of life. I'm not talking about carbon-based life which is possible on Earth. Any other form, any element that exhibits the carbon property of combining with a large number of elements. So again, we'll be left with 10 to the power 11 such planets if we reduce it down by again 1,000. So the odds of alien life being there are quite high, regardless of any argument we put against it. So a good way to actually understand this is if we properly examine the American government's response to extraterrestrial life, which states that the odds of extraterrestrial life being there are pretty high, but our chances of getting involved with them are as low as that. So with this, I would like to go to Rohit.
Yeah, so speaking of finding life in other planets, let's have a look at what spawned life in our very own planet many millions of years ago. So if you look back at the evidence, it's basically when there was little to no life, it was just a whole bunch of gases of different elements all like lurking around in the atmosphere. And then under the right pressure and atmospheric conditions, when like a catalyst like lightning struck, these chemicals reacted, and as such the first proteins which synthesized life came about. So from that, over millions of years of evolution, we know life forms as we see them today. So from that, we can imagine other planets, other galaxies far away, they have various complicated compositions as well, and life forms can probably spawn from any of these kind of situations. In fact, scientists have even conducted research and found out that certain life forms can exist even without water and oxygen, to be namely the anaerobic bacteria. They synthesize food without either of these things. So harsh conditions are no obstacle for life forming in other planets.
Yeah, I would like to extend the idea of life without oxygen. Actually, humans today believe that oxygen is actually a prerequisite for life, which is actually false, because in our Earth, oxygen was present, and this oxygen was a poison to many organisms that existed at, say, T=0 when life came to be. These organisms died by Darwin's rule of natural selection and of survival of the fittest. And the organisms which required oxygen to survive were the ones which evolved, and today we are organisms which require oxygen. So actually, we require oxygen because oxygen was there. It's not that we have survived because of oxygen. So with this, I would like to go to Sparsh.
Yeah, I totally agree. See, it all gets down to basic biochemistry. We have elements like carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen. They support life system on Earth, but it's not necessary that in other planets these elements support life system. We have examples, as Anshuman pointed out, of anaerobic bacteria that do not require oxygen at all. So I believe that is an alien, suppose, and is adaptable to a temperature of -150 degrees centigrade. He would consider that temperature as suitable and optimal for life conditions. And we live at temperature of say 35 degrees centigrade. So we consider that temperature as optimal. So maybe our assumptions are wrong. We should broaden our outlook. We need more speculations and more investigations.
Obviously, the idea that life can flourish only under terrestrial conditions, that is the conditions existing on Earth, have been made obsolete by various research conducted in today's 21st century. We think that because carbon does not exist in any form in various stars and other planets, that life cannot exist. But there are various other elements like silicon which can undergo the same process, which is known as catenation, which leads to carbon making different types of living organisms. I don't think the way we look at in today's world that we take the datum point as Earth's atmosphere, which is not correct.
Exactly. Like, think about it this way. If, let's hypothesize, far away in another galaxy, there are life forms which have spawned in conditions of -150 to 200 degrees Celsius. Now, for human beings to colonize such a place or live in such conditions is unthinkable. But if some life form managed to spawn and evolve in such a condition, even from their perspective, our type of planet temperatures would be just as difficult to live in as well. So it's all a matter of perspective. So very likely that there is life out there. It could be far, but it's there nonetheless.
Very cool. We all agree on the fact that there's a huge probability, almost a certain probability, that there has to be life in our cosmos and that we are not alone. So with this, I would like to conclude our first segment, and I would like to go on to our second segment. And in this, we'll just have some fun and we'll postulate. I mean, if life exists in the cosmos, what will be its form? because in everyday life we encounter fiction and cinema which actually misguides us into believing that alien life will be quite like us, in the sense 2 legs, 2 arms. The odds of aliens having eyes is so low that it's almost funny that every time we see a movie we see aliens with eyes. So let's just pause. Let's hypothesize on what forms of life could exist.
Yeah, so what kind of films have you guys seen which features aliens in them?
E.T.
Men in Black.
Oh, that's a great example.
Yes.
This is like a very futuristic scenario where so many alien life forms along with humans are coexisting together. In Men in Black, we have aliens along with us working together to solve issues and so on. Anshuman, what do you think about sci-fi films? Your favorite ones?
Sci-fi films, I'm really sad to admit that Star Wars showed it in an incorrect way, according to me, because again it showed aliens which resembled human beings so many ways. Just because they looked slimy and all does not make them true. Any way nearer to the truth. The best sci-fi film that has exhibited alien life is 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, that's a fantastic film.
It's too good. That film actually, it never showed aliens. We're not gonna show aliens because we have no idea how and what they will be like. So they simply showed a civilization which has reached the peak of evolution, which is now just a form of energy, and it influences the evolution of other species like us. So Rohit, your views on 2001?
Oh yeah, basically as we just mentioned, like there are so many different types of sci-fi films. Some of these creators, they just take liberties as to how they want to depict aliens, and some like 2001: Space Odyssey, they elegantly like to avoid showing the aliens because they leave it open to interpretation. But what you can really note in 2001 is that the aliens are so sophisticated and advanced that they don't intervene so obviously in human activities.
Intervene via those monoids, right?
Oh yeah, the monoliths. These
monoliths,
yeah,
sorry.
the black structures which keep popping up here.
Popping up in each of the segments.
Yeah. So to summarize, basically, alien life could be of either intelligent or primitive forms. Like, what do you guys know about these types of life forms, primitive and intelligent?
Primitive can be anaerobic bacteria, and intelligent life form can be much intelligent than us that have been depicted in films like MIB and etc. I want to point out similar films like there's a film called Contact. In the Contact film, they don't show any alien, and the astronomer sent from Earth contacts with an alien, but the alien is just a memory for him from her past. So basically, she's contacting with her memory, and the alien tells us that still you all are not ready to contact with us. You should evolve, and we'll reach at a time that it is ripe for us to make a contact and collaborate our efforts.
Aliens could exist in any form. I mean, they could have 10 legs, or they couldn't have legs at all.
Exactly.
It would only depend on the existing conditions on the planet or stars or whatever asteroids or places where they live in the universe. Yeah, the conditions that shape their evolution or time they went through wars or something like that, if they had
artificial and natural, both selections.
Yeah.
On the planet Mars, they have located like frozen blocks of ice, right?
Yeah.
Were there sightings of bacterial forms over there?
They're assuming that if you have ice, you had water. If you had water, you had anaerobic bacteria. But
that's why the Mangalyaan mission has went there in search of methane, because everywhere there is life form, there is methane.
Now we're at a stage at which we've explored the possibility of alien life and the types of alien life depicted in films. Let's just have a random, thought experiment in which we think about what forms of life could exist in certain places that we know of. Let's start with a place in our solar system. Let's go with like Venus.
All right, Venus is pretty close to the sun, so the temperatures would be pretty brutal.
It has the highest temperatures because of acid clouds.
Yeah.
You can imagine they mostly are appendageless, and it's because it's so hot, they're not furry.
I think the most suitable candidate in our solar system is Mars, other than the Earth. That is like more or less the optimal distance from the sun, and there is water in a form of polar ice. So there may be a form of life that maybe have existed, or it is very primitive, and after some millions of years we may see life growing out there.
So again, we're talking about Earth-like life there, right?
Yeah, Earth-like life, because we are in the same solar system. So there is very high probability that if life exists on Earth, it will be similar
on Mars.
Similar to that of Earth.
Yeah, also in the future, because the way we are exploiting our planet, we could think of a time when humans go to Mars and settle over there, because almost the same conditions existing on Mars.
Recently, I was going through Carl Sagan's Cosmos, a scientific masterpiece. In that book, Sagan actually hypothesized on the type of life he thought would exist in Jupiter. So listen to this. This is like amazing. So what Sagan did was like, Jupiter, right? It's like a gas planet, heavy gravity, and a hot boiling center. So basically, the organisms which would exist in Jupiter would try not to reach the center and get fried, right? and they would exist in a form that would allow them to float in the upper realms of the atmosphere. So basically they would take advantage of the buoyant force of the fluid, that is gas. So they would exist in the form of balloon-like structures, ellipsoid, which could actually use the buoyant force to their advantage. See, the atmosphere of Jupiter consists of helium, hydrogen, water, methane, and ammonia. So what these balloon-like organisms would do is that they would keep the lightest element, hydrogen, inside them and keep it at a high temperature by consuming enough food, that is molecules or whatever from the atmosphere. They would keep it hot and then they would be floating, right? And the buoyant force would be high if their cross section is really big. So we can imagine these creatures as being rubber-like ellipsoids of, say, kilometers of radii. So there would be huge structures just floating. This was like an amazing thing I just read, so I just want to share with you guys.
Oh, that's fascinating. Apart from that, like in our immediate solar system, it is a bit difficult, like to find planets we can occupy easily, apart from Mars, I suppose. But has actually been cited that there are many moons of other galaxies far away which have very similar Earth-like conditions. The names escape me for now, but the point is they are very much inhabitable. They have very conditions and gravity and even significant oxygen and water content. It's just that the sheer distance of these planets, mere light years far, far away, make it difficult for us to travel that far. We simply don't have the technology to travel that much distance and feasibly conduct such travel.
Yeah, I read about one of the moons of, I think, Jupiter or Uranus, in which the moon has a large amount of methane content. The methane content in that moon could power the whole of the population of the Earth for about 100 years.
Like in terms of energy?
Yeah. If you use it in like...
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, the name is the Titanium. And there are, so just like our sun, there are medium-sized stars and which have planets revolving around them. Can be a 4-planet system or 8-planet systems. But I think there is very high probability that they will support life. Maybe.
In the sense, if it supports our kind of life, it could be used for future colonization, right?
Yeah. So coming to back here on Earth, a lot of people have talked about seeing UFOs and aliens as such. Yeah. People sleeping peacefully on their beds and then all of a sudden...
Especially in the US.
Probed by them and in suspicious ways in different parts of their bodies just to see what humans are like.
Exactly. The typical story goes, many of these abductees, if you will,
they see a flash of light during the night time when they're going by a car. Some alien ship, a saucer, abducts them and takes them and gets and probes them for...
blocks them in the middle of the road and then just they step out and they take them. Or even the more peaceful ones, people are sleeping in their houses, just minding their own business, and then suddenly they feel their bodies being light and levitated, and then all of a sudden these aliens, they come out, these little green men or grey men or whatever many of these common descriptions, they come out, they phase through the wall, they pick these people up and take them into their ship. They're beamed up, and then all kinds of, like you said, strange probing and experimentation. Some stories I've even heard, they even go like, these aliens, they take sperm samples and zygotes and try and make human-alien fusions and things like that. These are many of the things that people have cited that have happened. Normal civilians, policemen have been abducted apparently and things like that. These are the US ones in particular, but yeah, these aliens aren't partial to anyone basically.
Yeah. Anything they can't describe normally is attributed to aliens.
Yeah, even in Calcutta there have been UFO sightings, and recently it was reported that there have been some UFO sightings in India. And I want to point out one thing, that we have seen movies like MIB, and they are all based on organizations. It can be a conspiracy theory that there was an organization by the name of Majestic 12 or the Mars Jupiter 12, whose function was similar to that of MIB, whose function was to contact with the aliens and maintain a harmony between the relations between the humans and the aliens, and to just take care of them, how they contact with the humans,
learn secrets of their technology maybe.
Yeah,
I mean, there must be at least some base of truth, because sightings from around the world cannot be the same, right? I mean, they see the same thing. It could be that they're just copying the ones published earlier, or there should be at least a little basis something.
There's never been any scientific backing to this. It's all attributed to the human tendency to spread rumors and enjoy
15 minutes of fame to get the 15 minutes.
Exactly, which explains why it's happening in the US mostly. So many of them, they do say, right, like, oh, I felt something strange, I woke up, I felt like my body light, I was levitating, and then suddenly the rest of it is just this hazy...
Yeah, it's like they were high on drugs.
Probably, yeah, this bizarre anecdote is described by them, and then after that they feel, then the memory sort of escapes them, they don't recollect the events properly, so it's very possible that these are just things they cooked up, or things which they mostly imagined, or... Yeah. Not much proof to them or evidence, as basically.
Now that we're done with the hoaxes, I would like to, take this discussion on to the final part of this segment. That is the role of Darwinian evolution in the development of intelligent life. That is, intelligent life anywhere in the cosmos. In our evolution, we all know what Darwin's principles are. Basically, to summarize, their survival of the fittest, natural selection, and artificial selection. These three factors are what play an important role. These three factors actually, you can say, guide the evolution of one species to another over millions of years. That's the basic idea. Let's just take our own example. What are we? All forms of life on Earth have started from the same, molecule. The first molecule which actually exhibited life. So we all descend from that. And how we got from there to here can be explained using Darwin's theory. So in short, what happens is that mutations occur, and favorable mutations, that is mutations which favor survival of the organism, these live on because they're artificially or naturally selected. And finally, these mutations give rise to more mutations, and it's all a matter of chance. It's just the probability of starting at time at t is equal to 0 and ending up at humans again is 0 if we take in probability. So that's how we evolved. So we can never expect organisms like ourselves even in similar conditions. So that's how important Darwinian evolution is to the development of intelligent life.
Exactly, the trajectory at which evolution can happen, there are so many possibilities. So to expect to see very human-like creatures in another planet, like highly similar to us, is improbable, because how evolution takes place is just subject to so many different conditions, both natural and external things, which are like suppose a meteor strikes the planet, or some natural calamity takes a huge toll on a species of the inhabitants of the planet. It'll drastically affect the way that life form develops henceforth.
The direction of evolution.
Yeah, exactly, the direction of evolution.
Yeah, I agree. Like even in our planet, there could have been races of humans or races of any insects or mammals are extinct now because
there's many human species which are extinct.
Like mammoth was one example.
We are like the Homo sapiens, and our cousins were actually killed by us, the other human species which actually lived on the earth a long time
that's
ago.
what I'm saying. It's basically survival of the fittest. So similarly, in different planets, in under different conditions, there may exist life forms which are quite different from us.
If the time when humans were evolving from the monkeys or apes from which we evolved, suppose there was a meteor strike, then the entire human population could have been wiped out, and I mean, we couldn't have seen human species as it is today.
Survival.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've all expressed our views on Darwin, there's just one last thing that I wanted to share with you all. Let's just talk about the evolution of a body part, one of our body parts, like our eyes. Why do we have such a specialized sensor for detecting a small fragment of the electromagnetic spectrum? It's just amazing that we have such a sensor in our bodies. Basically, this is because we have an abundant amount of sunlight, and catching a small fragment of the spectrum helps us to survive. That's it. The first time any organisms must have gotten eyes, they must have had some very primitive electromagnetic sensors which evolved over time due to various mutations, and now eyes are vital for survival. That's how we have eyes. Beings on, say, a dark planet wouldn't have eyes, and they could have been more intelligent than us. They could be more intelligent than us. They could be engineering amazing space shuttles, or music systems or whatever, but they might not even be having eyes.
Yeah, I give you an example of the movie. I think the movie was Predator, or starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, in which the aliens did not have eyes, but what they have is that they can pick up electromagnetic radiations, infrared radiations, so they can point out, this is some energy, heat energy is coming, so this can be some life form. So they attack the humans in the film. So I totally agree with your point.
So basically, to summarize, everyone good at something. They're naturally just optimized for that particular skill. They may be lacking in other facets, but there's always something which has helped them generally to get along and adapt to their environment.
It's just the direction of evolution.
Exactly, the essence of evolution is very much that.
Okay, so now I'd like to wrap this segment up, and let's go on to the third and final part of our episode. And this segment we'll discuss our civilization's scientific attempts at making contact with intelligent extraterrestrial life. So basically, in the US, a collective set of efforts towards establishing any connection or communication with intelligent life was started in the 70s, and it was collectively known as SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence. So SETI projects were at the start funded by the American government, and they used all sorts of and even developed amazing technologies to be able to come in contact with these extraterrestrial intelligent species. Although they've never been successful, otherwise we'd all be jumping right now. The thing is that in 1995, government funding was ceased. So since then, it's become more of a private organization, and they do all sorts of amazing things. I mean, it's not only a search, it's almost a science in itself.
One of the experiments conducted by SETI was radio experiments. Radio experiments are basically experiments used to detect various radio waves, which could be used by alien species to communicate with each other or with us if they wanted to make contact with humans. Many radio frequencies that penetrate our atmosphere led to the radio telescopes that investigate the cosmos using large radio antennas. Furthermore, human endeavors emit considerable electromagnetic radiation as a byproduct of communication, such as television, mobiles, and radio sets. These signals would be easy to recognize because as artificial
basically what we want to do with radio experiments is that we just want to realize that if an intelligent species exists somewhere, then we just want to make sure that it exists. And like us, they'd also be using radio frequencies for communications, and we can easily identify these frequencies as artificial due to their repetitive and narrow bandwidths. So this is just a method of verifying that intelligence life exists.
Yeah, gamma ray bursts are candidates for extraterrestrial communications. SETI currently omits gamma ray frequencies in their monitoring and analysis because they are absorbed by Earth's atmosphere and they are difficult to detect with ground-based receivers. So there's an observatory in MIT that suggests that an advanced civilization that has reached a technological singularity would be capable of transmitting a 2 millisecond pulse encoding 10 to the power 8 bits of information. This is comparable to the estimated total information content of Earth's power system, genes, memes, and including all libraries and computer media.
To add to that, there's another organization along with SETI which has been developed, well involved with searching for extraterrestrial life, known as Active SETI. It's also been widely known as METI, Messaging to Extraterrestrial Intelligence. Basically consists of sending signals into space in the hope that they'll be picked up by an alien language. The well-renowned physicist, Stephen Hawking, in his very famous book, A Brief History of Time, suggests that alerting extraterrestrial intelligences of our existence is foolhardy, citing mankind's history of treating his fellow man harshly in meetings of civilizations with a significant technology gap. He suggests in his view of this history that we should just lay low and let things happen as they should.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember is, at least I was in 4th standard in DPS Gurgaon, we had this program from NASA. They were sending a space rover at that time outside the solar system. So they asked a few selected schools throughout the world for each of the students to record a message in their own mother tongue. And then they had this huge hard disk in which they put all the messages and then loaded it on the space rover, and it was sent outside the solar system.
And there's one more type of communication that tries to establish, that is via optical experiments. Basically, they have colossal telescopes which are designed to detect optical and thermal signatures of extraterrestrial civilizations from planetary systems that are light years away from the sun. To cite a particular example, there's a 74 meters Colossus telescope which can detect these optical and thermal signatures which are at a radius of 60 light years from the sun, which is amazing. So with this, I'd like to conclude with a few thoughts. And the first is that let's just imagine a scenario in which we'd come in contact with alien life. There are various ways to approach this and various ways in which they would approach this. One would be war, which we do not want because we're scared, because we're assuming that they're more intelligent than us. So we'll get conquered, become slaves, or whatever. Think of the worst things in history. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two is that they are peace-loving beings who want to interact with us, and they too don't want to be alone in this universe. The reason why they want to meet us is the same as why we'd want to meet them. We don't want to be alone. And in this case, there would be a nice symbiosis between us and these civilizations, via which both of us would grow and we'd exchange ideas, technology, whatever.
But on the flip side, I personally feel if these aliens are as intelligent as we perceive them to be, they'd most likely avoid contacting us altogether, because seeing as how unevolved we are compared to them, they'd probably know that our first primal instinct would be just to be fearful of them, and that we might try to conquer them or wage war, or instigate something which is undesirable or unnecessary, which would lead to losses on both sides.
This is assuming that they're more evolved than us.
Exactly. So if I were these aliens, I'd stay far clear of these human beings, give us a little more time to evolve, and then probably try and come into direct contact with us.
On the other hand, if we were the more evolved species, then we'd be in total control. Judging by mankind's history, we'd probably be a violent and bad sort of alien life to them. So with this, I would like to finish our program. This is VIT Community Radio 90.8 FM. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. This is Anshuman Mishra and Milan Chennai signing off.
Exchange of ideas. This is VIT Community Radio 90.8.
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and girls, this is Data Chunks on VIT Community Radio 90.8 FM. This program features chunks of informative data on various fields, be it computers, environment, technology, physics, or any field. Data Chunks has it all. Hello VIT, I'm Sudeep from MTech ST and I'm here at Data Chunks with some interesting information about microphones. A microphone is a device that captures audio by converting sound waves into an electrical signal. This can be amplified as analog signal or may be converted to a digital signal, which can be processed by a computer or any other digital audio device. While all microphone or mics serves the basic simple function, they can capture audio in several different ways. Therefore, multiple classes of microphones exist. The three most common types are described below. The first one, dynamic type. Dynamic microphones are the most widely used microphones. They have a simple design that includes a magnet wrapped by a metal coil. A thin sheet called diaphragm is placed on the front end of the magnet and transmits vibrations from sound waves to the coil. The coil then transfers these vibrations into electrical wires that transmit the sound as an electrical signal. Since dynamic microphones uses a simple design, they are typically very durable and do not require electrical power. The second type is the condenser type. Condenser microphones are commonly used for audio recording purposes. They are known for their sensitivity and flat frequency response. Each condenser microphone includes a front plate, that is the diaphragm, and the back plate that is parallel to the front plate. When sound waves hit the diaphragm, it vibrates and alters the distance between the two plates. This change is transmitted as an electrical signal. Unlike dynamic microphones, condensers requires electrical power. This current may be provided by an internal battery, but is most often provided as 48-volt phantom power from an external preamp or mixing console. The third type is the ribbon type. Ribbon microphones are also known for their high fidelity. They contain a thin ribbon made of aluminum, duraluminum or nanofilm, which is suspended in a magnetic field. Incoming sound waves makes the ribbon vibrate, generating voltage proportional to the velocity of vibration. This voltage is transmitted as an electrical signal. While early ribbon microphones required a transformer to increase the output voltage, modern ribbon mics have improved the magnets to provide stronger signals, in some cases even stronger than the dynamic microphones. Though ribbon mics have been largely replaced by the condensers, several models are still being manufactured and used today. Not only
விஐடி பண்பலை 90.8 இன்றைய நிகழ்ச்சிகள் இனிதே நிறைவு பெறுகின்றன. எமது அடுத்த ஒளிபரப்பு நாளை காலை 9 மணிக்கு 90.8 பண்பலை அலைவரிசையில் இனிதே ஆரம்பமாகும். நேயர்கள் அனைவருக்கும் நன்றி, வணக்கம்.